Hello and welcome to a new All About Books video. So I'm going to be doing these once a month, and it's all about books I've been reading. So I managed to finish 2 books on Audible. One being The Speakman's Conquering Anxiety. The second one being is Paul McKenna about confidence. Really good book, and he has some hypnosis type content in there. So you might want to read that sort of like when you're not travelling, but I did. But some of the bits that were like which was like hypnosis, I did listen to at some part indoors. But it's still a good book, and I definitely recommend them. I've also got one book called How to Make You Rich, and I want to download that book, which I've read, but I want to listen to it again because I find self-help books are brilliant to listening to rather than reading, but that's only my preference. But really good books, and so check them out. But I also finished 2 paperbacks. Sometimes I have a break from reading where I don't read any books, and then I go back into it again because I'm someone who reads books after books after books. So the first one that I finished was called it was from Works, which do 3 books for £5. Brilliant deal, and I've bought some more because they're brilliant for books. And it was How to Fall in Love Again, and it's written by Amanda Prose, and it's based on a lady called Kitty who believes in true love, but she ends up marrying the wrong person at first. But then after she moved about a bit because she was was brought up in Scotland in Delafield. But she then came down to London to work and met, and then she found that she was having feelings for another guy from her school, and she went to like a boarding school up in Scotland. And it took a while to really get into before there was any real action, but in the end it was a good read. A lot of the content was very old-fashioned. It was like written that somebody wrote it for the future 10 years ago, or maybe 20 or 30 years ago, because it was very old-fashioned written, but the story was actually really good. So I would give that a 7 out of 10, because it took me a while to get into it. And this book, now, I do love reading true stories, and because I do a website to help young people start their life again, called the Archangels Network, I wanted to do some research and talk about people's true stories on there. And this is called The Little Prisoner. I wasn't sure if I already read this book once before, but I don't think I did. And it's basically she was abused by a stepfather called Richard, all the way until she was about 14, and then he even tried to dictate where she should live, and she did have relationships with men, but because of what was happening with her stepdad, unfortunately it didn't end very well. But it's a brilliant book. I definitely recommend it. You will need your tissues for this book because it is very sad, but a very good written book, a true story. And if you like true stories, then this one I would give it because of the kind of material in it, I want to give it 8 out of 10, not because it was explicit, but because it was so sad. So yeah, but brilliant book, brilliant written. It's written by Jane Elliott, the little girl and it's her story about her as a child being abused by her stepfather. And yeah, it's a really, really good book. And so the book I'm reading now, I got this from a charity shop, and I just had to pick it up. And it's an Eddie Savage thriller, Long Reach, and written by Peter Cox. And it's actually a brilliant book. I think there must be more of I think this is part of a series actually, so I wouldn't mind finding out the other books to this one. And basically his brother Steve died, and just like he committed suicide, but Eddie refuses to believe that his hero elder brother killed himself, and thinks that he was actually killed by somebody else. I'm about that far in the book at the minute. Not because I've not enjoyed reading it, just because I've been running around a lot, and sometimes I don't get a chance to actually pick up and read it. But I'm going to continue that on, and hopefully have a new another book finished by next month. So, and let me talk about my books. So, yes. So this is my most recent published book. It's called Mum and Me, and it's a comedy. And it's Gucci Tits, the PTFA and drag queens. And what it's talking about is a mum called mum is mum to a lady called Elizabeth, who they live together and they drive each other up the wall. But then Elizabeth has a arch rival called Gloria. That's why, which I named Gucci Tits, because she's very into cosmetic surgery and runs a salon, and she's the head of the PTFA. And even though she says that her door is open for ideas, she only wants to pick the ideas that she agrees with and nobody else's, and that is Elizabeth's arch rival, and they go head to head in a virtual British Bake Off, and are basically arch enemies. But Gloria actually wants to really, if you read the book, wants to be friends with Elizabeth, but Elizabeth can't stand her. So, and so I really enjoyed writing this book. I've already started on book 2 of the series, so watch out for that. And so yeah, this is my book that I've written. It's available on Amazon.com under my name, Carrie Holmes. So if you want to check that out, you can on Amazon.com. So that's my video for today on All About Books, and I will be doing one next month. So see you then. Bye bye.